What's up, Blueprint family? Thank you all for coming out tonight. So tonight we have a very special topic on our hearts and minds, and we wanted to share it with you all, especially my wife.
Yeah, certainly. Oh, did I just close that? Certainly, because I wish we had talked about this when it first came out. The Surgeon General of the United States in May May's almost up, so thinking about June. But earlier this month, it was like May 3rd. I'm actually going to pull up the article. But he declared loneliness an epidemic. And that
Who was he?
is huge. So the new Surgeon General of the United States.
The American Surgeon General. What's his name?
Yes, I'm gonna. Okay. Trying to zoom in a bit okay. So this is coming from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. I want to see how this looks on y'all end. Okay, good.
You got to speak up.
Do I? Testing, yeah. Mic check. All right. So for immediate release, May 3rd, 2023. So it's talking about the new Surgeon General advisory raises alarm about the devastating impact of the epidemic of loneliness and isolation in the United States. So it goes on to say, today, the United States Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy. Thank you, honey.
You're welcome.
Released a new Surgeon General advisory calling attention to the public health crisis of loneliness, isolation, and lack of connection in our country. I want to fast forward all of this to specific his quote because this was so impactful. He says, our epidemic of loneliness and isolation has been an underappreciated public health crisis that has harmed individual and societal health. Our relationships are a source of healing and well-being hiding in plain sight, one that can help us live healthier, more fulfilled, and more productive lives. Yes, that is everything that we preach on Blueprint Family Jewels. Like the whole reasoning why we created this channel was to really just help cultivate healthier relationships within our community. It will really benefit everyone, not only the individual, but us as a society as a whole. He goes on to say, given the significant health consequences of loneliness and isolation, we must prioritize building social connection the same way we have prioritized other critical public health issues, such as tobacco, obesity, and substance abuse. Together, we can build a country that's healthier, more resilient, less lonely, and more connected. That is like so true. And it is such a public health crisis that needs more attention, and not even attention in the sense of just saying, oh, everybody's lonely out here, people are lonely, but attention in the sense of how we are going to come together and build social connection. That is super important. Clearly, it is hard out here for people to do that. Clearly, it's a struggle. The whole dating scene, it seems like people are going through, is more complicated now than ever before. And that has impacts not only on the person, but us as a society. The physical health consequences of poor and insufficient connection include a 29% increased risk of heart disease, a 32% increased risk of stroke, and a 50% increased risk of developing dementia for older adults. Additionally, lacking social connection increases the risk of premature death by more than 60%. That is huge. Oh my gosh, that is such a huge number. Such a huge number. Oh.
Oh.
Because it's a huge number. And that is just, it's really sad. It's really, really, really sad. It goes on to say, this is such a good article. It just goes on to say, in adults, the risk of developing depression among people who report feeling lonely often is more than double that of the people who rarely or never feel lonely. Loneliness and social isolation in childhood increase the risk of depression and anxiety both immediately and well into the future. Okay, I say this all to say, there was also recently statistics that came out talking about what's the way to say this, self-deletion and the increase in that, and the direct relation between young children having the highest amount of self-deletion rate than ever before. That is so important to think about, because not only has the rate of marriages decreased, families aren't together like they used to be. Obvious. And because of that, these children are often isolated because it's one parent who's having to do the work of two parents. That's going to naturally require that parent be outside of the house and away from the kid because they have to work, whether it's the mother or the father. That is directly linked to that child being isolated, being alone, having depression. Imagine a lot of our generation who grew up in those single family homes where you were the only one in your house because your mama or daddy's out working. Now you're older. You're now in the midst of this kind of horrible dating scene, it seems. So that's contributing greatly to the self-deletion that's going on and the people being depressed, the rise of mental disorders, the rise of crimes.
I think that what to add to this, Dr. Vivek, what he did after this was establish that the next epidemic is social media. So after he did this, he said that social media is a big health risk factor for children and youth. That's what's happening, is that because the lack of parenting, that these children, Gen Z children, are being raised by social media now more than ever. So our millennials, we were raised more so by our old school media, radio, television, movies, things like that. Now these children are being raised by social media, which is causing more, like my wife is saying, more instances and cases of self-deletion. And you see that in the news with all of these instances with school, mass, situations of people carrying guns to school and whatnot. And that is one of the reasons why loneliness contributes to that. Yeah. Because of the lack of parenting and the lack of attention and time dealing with children.
Yes.
So that is the whole point. One of the points of that. But I just wanted to throw that in there, is that after he did that, he's doing a great job for America. But the problem is that ain't nobody talking about this.
Well, that's why we are right here, right now, talking about it.
It was mentioned very briefly, but this is something that needs to be mentioned often and resonated, throughout the months ahead. This makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
Mental health is lacking in the United States, and it seems as if nobody cares at all,
right,
or is doing anything about it.
Yes.
And so therefore you see these results that you get out now. You have to be very careful when you go out in public. Watch your surroundings, risk manage, assess, all of those things, because you don't know what may happen
or
dealing
what
with
people are
people.
going through. Yeah. And because he says, with more than 1 in 5 adults and more than 1 in 3 young adults living with mental illness in the United States, addressing loneliness and isolation is critical in order to fully address the mental health crisis in America. It is. As much as people want to say, oh, I'm single and just gonna be single and all this other stuff, like, it's not beneficial to mental health. We are not meant to be alone. We aren't. Naturally, as a people, that's just that. We have always been community based. And it goes on to say, while the epidemic of loneliness and isolation is widespread and has profound consequences for our individual and collective health and well being, there is a medicine hiding in plain sight: social connection. So I really think we can go and we can take a whole video just to talk about what he talked about in this article. And this might be something we do tomorrow, or I don't know. We'll just definitely have to go through this, because these are some great topics and tips that he has put in here for ideas of what he calls advancing the social connection based on 6 foundational pillars. This is awesome stuff. So I really want to probably go through this in another video a little more in depth. But this brings us also to our topic of social connection in the sense of arranged marriages. This has been a very controversial topic within many cultures, arranged marriages. Some people agreeing with them, thinking that they're, great. Some disagreeing, thinking that they're not so great. So I really wanted to check out some statistics. We actually went ahead and did that. Checked out some statistics and just really dug into what these cultures that implement arranged marriages, what they do, how successful they are, and the impact that it makes on their culture as a whole in general. There, believe it or not, many cultures within America that still not America, within the world, that still practice arranged marriages, believe it or not. So I actually wanted us to go ahead and go through some today. Because, arranged marriages can be, in particular, we'll start here. Arranged marriages can be useful to combat loneliness in the United States in a few ways. First, they can provide people with a sense of community and belonging, kind of going right along with what the Surgeon General was saying. Creating that community and that connection really helps people feel less isolated and alone. What are you thinking?
Nothing, I'm just listening. Arranged marriage. To me, my thoughts are that, your parents are supposed to be arranging your marriages. Your father.
Yeah.
More importantly, for the daughters.
Yeah.
So that you're not marrying some, your peers, the people who are more so, you're struggling with.
Yep.
You want the best for your children, to be honest with you, so that they have a great start and they're not running back to you telling about, problems or issues with their husband or their wives.
Yeah. And believe it or not, that's how most cultures do it. I have pulled up a few examples specifically of the cultures that we'll get into a little later on, but that actually do that through parents.
Yeah, but and you're probably going to go into it, but it's more so those cultures do it because of the family interaction and the support, family support. So they usually marry into families of wealth or whatever the case may be, so that they both can keep their wealth within their families.
Yeah. Yep. And that's a cool part of being in an arranged marriage, is that you're immediately connected into a community and a family that's often of, your similar values and principles and stuff. So you're just naturally connected in that core principle of, usually if you have the parents that are orchestrating, right, something like that.
And then for those people who are kind of like, I would never do such a thing like that. Think about your situation and in your relationship. Is it working?
Yep.
A lot of times, more than likely, it's not. You're picking the wrong people. You're attracted to the wrong women, the wrong guys, the people who are always using you because that's your trauma and that's what you're used to.
Yeah.
that, and that's another situation, is that you really don't want to arrange a traumatically, damaged person with someone else also,
Right.
too. So that plays into the whole mental health situation as well, because that goes unnoticed, and a lot of people don't even think they have a mental issue, and realistically they do. But especially it takes that social interaction to actually bring it out of people, and sometimes that's the not that that's the deciding factor of whether you have a mental situation or not.
Right. No, that is so true. That is so true. But, second, arranged marriages can also provide people with a spouse who is committed to them, because going into arranged marriages, usually the parents, kind of like we've been hitting on already, the parents of the bride and the groom are heavily involved in that matchmaking process. So being that happens, the couples are more rooted in the idea of being in this marriage and understanding, in a way, kind of like the duty of it, and how they want to come together for these shared values and these shared principles and the higher purpose of it, in a way. So that's another cool, thing about arranged marriages that can also really help with feelings of insecurity and uncertainty when it comes to being alone in a community or not having a sense of family or purpose. Sometimes, especially if you're brought up in a broken home or a traumatic home, of course, after you have healed your wounds and you've come to grips of that, marrying into a family when you are healthy is often a great thing, because it gives you a new experience of a family that you never had. So yeah, that can certainly help combat loneliness.
Mm-hmm. And of course, arranged marriages are not a cure-all,
right,
for loneliness. And I'm thinking about that, and how many people would participate in an arranged marriage. It takes a lot of unselfishness, because you don't even know who you're marrying, and then on top of that, you have to shed a lot of selfishness in order to make it work. I've seen one of these arranged marriages with a Hindu couple, a Hindu man, and he was just like head over heels for the woman, and then when she saw him, she was just like a look of distress on her face, like, oh no, like I can't believe you all picked this guy, and she don't know anything about him. Right. But truth be told, to be honest with you, like I always say, the person that may be for you may not be the person that you think of in your head, that the type of person that you may want or what you're attracted to. It just is what it is. You talk to a lot of married couples, and they, some of them say that they didn't plan on marrying the person that they were with. They did, so if you're arranged marriages, I believe, are real good for people who just can't find someone that they can be in a relationship with.
That's true. Also, with the whole notion of women, we're kind of going to go into this a little later about the disadvantages, because that's certainly a disadvantage, not being able to have that first connection with your spouse before marrying them. But on the same thing, when you mentioned the woman being like, oh, the man isn't as, I guess she thought he wasn't as attractive. Where did that notion come from? I thought women were supposed to be like the pretty ones. Usually when you think of, or at least me, when I grew up, I thought that, the women were the pretty ones in the relationship. The woman was supposed to be the one to be looked at, and the man didn't necessarily. It's always nice if the guy looks good.
Yeah, but not everybody. The average woman in America, well, they said they want a man who's 6 foot, makes 6 figures, and all of that.
Yeah, but that's how many men is that? That's not that many men.
And but you have to understand that the average women here in America don't have a realistic vision of what men look like, one, and then also two, marriage. So it takes a lot to try to convince them that arranged marriages will work for them, because you can't tell them anything. You get what I'm saying? Not everyone,
unless they really are prepared to want to be married. And I think that is the issue that is a lot of people are now in this modern dating coming into, because they're realizing that, oh man, I want to be married, but I don't know how, or
but the thing
I don't have any prospects or whatever.
Thing is, they have to accept that while they're young, or either they accept it while they're older, when they're broken down, and they realize that, oh, I made a mistake and I need a man.
Well, and their kids are gone, and, or raised about the house and stuff. I would think for a woman at least.
Well, no, I mean, it's just something has to. That's the sad thing about modern women, modern dating, is that a lot of times these women don't want to give up being single. They don't, unless they get the exact man that they want. The problem is that you have to get through to the women and make them realize that your man that you want doesn't exist. They don't. So you have to be open-minded to
unless
dating
you are,
someone.
Well, he could exist if you're open-minded, like you said. Yeah, just
no,
don't have
no.
He doesn't have those rigid.
Yeah, but honey, you got to understand that not a lot. You don't have the ideology that a lot of modern women have. A lot of modern women are career women. But they're average women, and they think that they're exceptional people, and they can find whoever they want, and that person will marry them. But they give up because nobody wants to marry them. That's the thing. Career women, you all delay. They delay so much, and they think that they can hold off on marriage, and then they can just walk into marriage. And it doesn't work that way. It really does not. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't, unless you're marrying somebody who desperately needs you. Mm-hmm. And then you're not going to be satisfied with their relationship either, because this person is using up all your money, time, and resources, or whatever may have you. Instead of trying to marry while you're young and getting it right in the first place. Yeah. Being married young, establishing, growing, having a family, and then now you feel the purpose of raising a family instead of choosing that over a career. Right. That's just the reality of the situation. That's what's going on over here in America. So arranged marriages are good, but you have to be very open-minded to wanting to do something like this. And then also too, men are looking for young, fit women, young, fit wives. Yeah. Young, fit women in America aren't looking for marriage, and not on a massive scale, not at large.
Yeah, not at large. And that's okay, because, the tipping point is what? 10%. Your tipping point is 10% to where you can really make change. So if 10%, I believe that there is 10% of women out there who would love to be wives. And if those 10% of women could be available to be made or in an arranged marriage or some type of thing with a man who also is ready to be a husband, it could be a beautiful thing. And it would cut down drastically on a lot of the BS, because it seems
you think it's 30 million women out here looking for this.
That's in 10%. The world. That's in the world.
About in the world.
That's in the world. I'm talking about maybe in the United States. That's even more.
Right. Now, I was just doing the United States, and that's 10% of 300,000.
Great day.
Is 30 million women? No, I don't think so.
Maybe. Being born.
Looking for an arranged marriage?
No, not an arranged marriage, just to be married. And so then I believe there's an inner calling on most women, if not all. I can't speak for all, but
they are. But the thing is this: because they hold out so late in marriage, that's contributing to the marriage rates going down. It's because women are holding out late in life to get married, and what happens is that men your age are not looking for you to marry you.
Yeah,
they're not. They want younger women. I mean, look at Robert De Niro. He's 81 years old, having kids with a 29-year-old woman. I mean, if that doesn't speak volumes, men naturally look for younger, fit women to have their children. It's harder for older women to bear children and raise children, especially the amount of children that men who are well established want.
Yeah,
we want around 2 to 3 children.
Yeah.
So really, the in order for this to really work in America, I'm not saying they can't, but in order for it to really work in America, it really needs to be younger women, early 20s, who take part in arranged marriages. The problem here in America is that younger women have access and a lot of freedoms to things, and which prevents them from having the idea that marriage is for them. They got
Unless
college.
we make it look beautiful. I don't think it's as glamorized as all these other life paths out here. I think more married couples need to show the beauty in marriage and not allowing non-married couple to control that narrative, or even unhappily married couples to control that narrative. It needs to be happy married couples out there really controlling the narrative of how beneficial marriage is and actually helping. But I get the whole idea of like they're usually younger women who are in arranged marriages, because after I did a lot of the research on these cultures, which we'll present in a little bit, but they are usually younger women that are getting married in arranged marriages for those reasons.
Right. I mean, yeah, there are, but also too, that's norm. Those are cultural norms.
Right.
Here in America, cultural norms for young women is to go buck wild and party and enjoy your life, experiment, do strange things, and then find love when they're 40 or 30.
But is that even realistic with the way times have changed?
It's not realistic. That's the reason why less people are getting married.
No, I'm saying, is it well, yeah, because by waiting that long, but is that realistically healthy to keep perpetuating that narrative?
No, it's not, because what happens is that these women age catch up with these women, and then they regret. They just regret. They're in deep regret. Like that lady who said, I got a divorce from my husband because I had it all, and then I threw it all away, and then he married a younger woman, and now I'm 60 years old and I'm alone, and I wish I was married. Those women are the ones that really want marriages, because they went through the ringer of life. Life did this with them, just dried them out. And then all of a sudden now they realize that, oh, I done messed up. I have these children, and I delayed marriage, and I felt as if I didn't need a man for nothing because I had this career job. And then now I'm in my own older years and I'm lonely, just like that report says. I'm lonely. And now I wish I had a man.
Well, maybe there could be like an older arranged marriage.
I think hotline, so, yeah.
Like where the older people.
Yeah, but then again, like, who's going to marry an older woman?
Older men, that's what I'm saying. Like two older people.
But you got people like you got people like Al Pacino out here making 80, he's 81, dating women who's 29 years old.
Right. I mean, well, not all older men necessarily want to do that. So maybe, I don't know. That's what I'm just saying.
Older men, if you all out there, what type of women are you all looking for? Are y'all looking for like older women, or are you all looking for younger women? Because I think the consensus shows that, older men who got, a lot of money, are able to date younger women and marry younger women. Yeah. Look at the interracial couple that we saw out in the street at the store. That surprised me. That looked like his daughter, but I could tell it wasn't, because they were an interracial couple. They didn't look nothing alike, so that is self-evident. Maybe that's the new trend of marriage. And that's something that I was harping on, was that the fact that these younger 20-some women, you all need to be dating older men if you want a long shot at being happy and successful in marriage.
Yes. And that could be arranged, is all I'm saying. This is something for the United States to consider. I really think that our society
trying to change the norms.
Yes, it has to be. Something has to be done in order to really create some type of change. And I think it's certainly one thing to consider. So, of course, here are a few statistics that we found about arranged marriages. Just some simple statistics for us to kind of chew on here in this conversation. Around 50% of marriages worldwide are arranged.
Half.
Yeah. And that's including, of course, all the big cultural, usually arranged marriages. So you're talking about the religious cultures, right. India, of course.
But you gotta, okay. But I'm not trying to play devil's advocate or nothing. I'm just also speaking statistics. India they're on pace to actually be the world's largest population.
Yeah.
So understand that they're going to have their culture involves marriage. So that's the reason why that is 50%. as
Yeah.
far as the world goes. And I think a lot of Asian cultures too, and we're about to get into that, they do arranged marriages as well.
Yeah, right. Because
Um,
India, like you were saying, India has the highest percentage of arranged
Okay.
marriages, with almost 90% of marriages being arranged.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
large.
Yes, 90%.
It's like almost every marriage
Exactly.
in India is arranged
Exactly.
marriage. But but then you go to the West and
Yeah,
there's
yes.
zero people getting married. But no, I mean people are getting married. I'm just exaggerating, but it's just different now. The way we're doing it here.
Yes. So this would be something to consider, and that's why we're going through it.
Well,
So
I mean, I didn't mean to cut you off, but if you add, you diversify marriages in America, then you'll have more marriages.
Yes.
you
Yep.
know.
Yep. So Pakistan, Japan, China, and Israel are the countries with the most pre-arranged marriages.
So you have the Pakistan. Okay.
55% of UK mothers of Pakistani origins are in cousin marriages.
What does that mean?
I have no idea.
that sounds like incest. I don't know if that's. I'm going to fact check that. I don't know if that's
Let's
true.
fact check that right now, because I just pulled up these statistics and I was like, let's go through them. So let's see here.
What is a cousin marriage? Is a cousin marriage is a
Let's see. Let's zoom in.
cousin marriage.
I can hold on. Let me share the screen.
Does that mean like you marry a distant cousin or something?
Yeah. Drivers of cousin marriage among British Pakistanians. So
Go back. Go all the way back. Go back. Cousin marriage is a complex. Go back.
Oh,
Scroll down.
What on?
Scroll down. Scroll down some more. I saw it earlier. No, scroll down some more. Introduction. Cousin marriage is a complex phenomenon influenced by cultural preferences and by political, socioeconomic, and emotional factors. The relative influence of these cousins who marry are most often first cousins. Wow.
Sons and daughters of siblings, but may be other consanguineous kin. So
they're
close
first.
kin.
That's
Yeah.
too close. That is
Wow.
incest. Cousin marriage is broadly associated with gender norms that restrict interaction between the sexes and low levels of female education. To be numerically significant, this marriage pattern also depends on families being large enough for suitable cousin spouses to be available. That's weird. And who's doing this? UK, Pakistani, UK people?
Yeah. Wow. That is.
Why? So if thinking on my sociology class, they probably doing this because of wealth, maintaining wealth and keeping wealth within the family. That is my guess.
They have to be really big, though, big families in order for it not to cause, I think, mental disorders or like.
Well, no, it's more so genetic
disorders.
Yeah, where you see phenotypes that actually are displayed, like polydactyly. You got 6 fingers or whatever the case may be, or 6 toes. So you see more of those recessive traits genetically that are being physically displayed on your body. Of somehow either some mental, like you said, mental situations that may occur. That's ancient. That's some ancient thing that they're doing.
And yeah, that's
Pakistani migration to British began. There's no firm evidence.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Okay.
Wow. Well, yes,
I learn something new every day. You heard it here first. Blueprint Family Jewels.
That was certainly something that to consider, that they are.
55% of UK mothers of Pakistani origin are in cousin marriages. So 55% of UK mothers are cousins.
And I say something to consider because look at, these are cultures. So this is something, when you're gonna marry, you certainly know what culture you're marrying into, because that's so interesting.
Well, here in America, make sure you don't marry your cousins. So
right.
That's like, important to. That's why I always say don't marry anybody where you're from. True. Always marry someone from another city. At least you have a chance that you're not marrying somebody that you're related to.
Well, unless you're like in the close. If like y'all cities is all connected, then you still got the chance. I mean, you have to be like a probably.
Yeah,
a
but at least
big-
you tried not to.
Yeah.
Like that,
Yeah.
husband and wife, they were cousins, like, but they were like distant cousins. They found out because their grandmothers
At the
at the
family reunion.
Yeah.
Ooh.
At the family.
That's interesting. So, green card marriage is the most common form of arranged marriage in America.
You know what that is?
Yes, I'm assuming the immigrant marriage thing.
Yeah.
So, like maybe a man from Jamaica, a young man from Jamaica hit up
mail order bride, or either mail order bride.
Okay, where you get a bride from another country to come and be your wife.
Yep.
Wow. That is interesting.
You see, that's the most common form of arranged marriage in America. So they do arranged marriages here.
In that form?
That makes sense to me. Okay, now I get it, because I've seen that, I have it happen in my family.
Yeah, green card marriage. Hey.
Or what they, Russian brides. They either Filipino women. They got the websites. You can call them. Hey, you go.
I think it's all over. Maybe I've seen ads for Ukrainian women now more than ever
because they're trying
of
to
what's
flee.
going on. Yeah. Yeah.
I've always said that too. And I, told my friends that if you're looking for a wife, wherever there's a bad earthquake or a volcano erupting, there are a lot of women there that need to be saved. Or looking for husbands. I'm serious, for real. Like,
all you got to do is make it back. Because
right.
when you
all you gotta do,
how you gonna get her? You gotta go over there, rescue her, and come on back.
Knight in shining armor. Because everything is devastated.
Yeah, right.
The hurricane season. If you're looking for, a lady in Bahamas, God forbid there's a hurricane. You go down there, help out, volunteer, and then meet a wife. I mean, all jokes aside, to be honest with you, that is a way to, but that's an adventurous way to do it.
Very. You
sticking your neck out.
Very brave.
There, right. To go out there when it's war, not war, but, weathered, worn, and torn areas that, where there are people that need help,
Yeah.
So you could be a hero.
Some more statistics on arranged marriages show that 74% of India's youth actually prefer arranged marriages over finding a partner independently. 74% of the 90% that are arranged. That is really good numbers. That is really, really good numbers, considering these are younger people too. So, hey.
They trust their parents. That's why.
Yeah, and don't nobody want to be alone. If we being real, don't nobody want to.
What is the divorce rate in India? It got to be low.
Well, we actually talk about that.
Oh, we do?
Yes, I had this. Right. That was about the last statistic that we. Yeah, in India, the last one, the divorce rate for arranged marriages is 1%, while the divorce rate for non-arranged marriages is 5%.
Wow.
So we're gonna get into that one in a little bit. The first arranged marriage divorce rate is that one. Hold on. Arranged marriage divorce rate is lower than the divorce rate for non-arranged marriages. Not that one. In the United States, the divorce rate for arranged marriages is 6.4%.
That's low.
While the divorce rate for non-arranged marriages is 40%.
So you know what that means? But American arranged marriages are different. You're calling someone up who needs you, and their only thing is that if they get a divorce, they don't have any family here. Yeah. And then also too, they're more than likely probably going back home.
Yeah, and you're talking about the green card marriage,
right?
In particular, because that is the most common form.
Right.
Yeah.
So they have no choice but to serve you.
Yeah.
And to be a husband and or wife, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So their hopes and dreams is to just get married.
Yeah.
And they don't have any large expectations either.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why that makes sense.
And one more statistic before we go deeper into the divorce rate for arranged marriages is that arranged marriages are actually becoming more popular in the West. With a study done by eHarmony, they found that 22% of singles in the United States would consider an arranged marriage. So that goes back to what I was saying about like the 10% tipping point. Here, based off their little survey, and I'm sure it's not everybody, but 22% from the survey that they took would actually participate in an arranged marriage. So I wanted to put this up on our YouTube. I know we don't have a whole bunch of people yet, but just to see when the people flood in for views, they'll vote on whether or not this would be something that would be interesting, because I really
you're gonna do a poll.
I really think this is something for the West to consider, especially when you're in an epidemic. You pull out all things, like you're going to all stops. You're trying to really do everything you can to help. You're not just not trying stuff. And I think arranged marriages are worth
I think
trying.
you need to arrange friends. You need to arrange family members. You need to arrange.
Yes, they will all have to be involved.
Not just a wife. You need to arrange your friends.
Yes.
Some people don't have friends. To be honest with you, do you have friends out there? Do you know how many people? I mean,
but most importantly, though, families are building families. Ultimately, help they create that. Foster that healthiness within a person, because it's their everyday, all the time life with that spouse. That connection is unmatched by even a friendship. So if you could just start there with that aspect of getting people together, having sustainable, lasting, deep, and profound relationships with the opposite sex, or their actual connections for making families. That is the hugest contributor.
I was serious. Like, you need to arrange friends, because the friends ultimately will find, you find more people through friends. All what's going on is that we're coming out of this pandemic, and what happened was that people got too comfortable being alone and being separated from people. So coming back and being social, that it's not necessarily harder. Is that they got comfortable being alone.
Yeah.
But what happened is that now they're they're suffering from loneliness and becoming socially awkward.
Right.
Not knowing how to engage with women, females, and things like that, and also to our youth from them not being in high school and things in school. But now they're back in school, and everyone's coming back together.
Yeah.
But
yep. So back to if we can go back to the divorce rate, what we were talking about between arranged marriages and non-arranged marriages. There are a number of reasons why the divorce rate for arranged marriages are lower than the divorce rate for non-arranged marriages. So in particular, that number again was in the United States, 6.4% for arranged marriages, and it was 40% for non-arranged marriages. So that's a huge difference. First, couples in arranged marriages are typically more compatible than couples in non-arranged marriages, simply because a lot of times when we're talking about worldwide, we'll get into the specific cultures that do certain rituals in order to, set this whole matchmaking thing up. But usually the parents are really involved in taking the time to find a spouse for their son or daughter who is compatible with the values, beliefs, goals, and principles of not only the spouse, but the family as well, and everybody, all in between.
Right. Yeah. The father vets the husband.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen here at all.
Right.
Because most of the time the father is non-existent.
Not even present. Right. Unfortunately.
And then you don't want the mama to pick a husband. Oh my goodness. No offense, but there's only a man knows what a man looks like, talks like, what they do. Yeah. No offense to women, but it is a different we are different. Man and woman, we're different. So it is best, especially if you're looking for the best for your child, as far as their spouse, you want to make sure that they're vetted properly. And I don't think America does a good job doing that, because like I said, the arranged marriages are more so individual. The individuals arranging their marriages and calling their mail order bride and say, hey, can you get me one here tomorrow?
Yeah.
And then it's not necessarily parents that do this. So that would be my challenge to parents who have young children, young daughters and sons, look to arrange their marriages. They don't know
Help
any.
them out. Yeah,
They
give
don't
them
know
some
any different.
dates.
They don't know any
Yeah.
different. And more than likely, their peers and people who they grow up with, they're not going to marry them anyway. And then
Right.
you don't want them to make mistakes in life and grow up hating the opposite sex because they could have picked better.
Right. Exactly.
And you
Exactly.
should have picked that person for them.
Yeah. So true. Another great statistic is that usually couples in arranged marriages are more likely to have a stronger support system. So this is because they have already the support of their families and their communities because they came together to help arrange the marriage. So that's super great when it comes to overall success and the security of the couple within itself, because life is going to have its challenges, its ups and downs. But if you know you have your family behind you, you know you have your community that's supporting you, you have a lot of resources that are available,
Right.
people are able to talk and come together, you feel like you can better overcome challenges.
Right. On a
Versus,
low,
yes,
on
yeah.
a low end, we need a down payment for a house. Let's ask your
Right.
daddy.
Yeah.
Let's ask your daddy for the money. And then
Right.
now you got $30,000 to put down on your house. And then let's ask my daddy for the money.
Or
And then
simple
now
things
you
like
got
house
60,000.
fires. Yeah,
Right,
or emergencies.
Right. Emergencies, like
when
that's
they
on the high
happen.
end.
Yeah,
On the high end,
yeah.
God forbid, natural disaster happen. You have a place to stay.
Yes, yeah.
And then you can live at one parent's house 1 month, and then I don't know. You get what I'm saying? But you have a lot of valuable resources at your hands when you have an arranged marriage because your parents met each other. The parents met each other first, probably more so before the children met each other.
Right.
So
Yep. So that's just one thing to consider when it comes. Again, all of this is kind of just us wanting to throw out as many ideas as we possibly can when we go back to the article we talked about in the very beginning of all of this, how the Surgeon General has literally declared this an epidemic of loneliness. So let's try out these arranged marriages that other cultures are doing and are successful in them. Exactly.
Amazing
Exactly.
that the divorce rates are so low.
Yes.
Than us picking. So that means that we're picking wrong.
Yes.
Leave your pick, as far as who to marry up to your parents.
Yes.
Fathers pick the husbands for the daughters, and mothers pick the wives for your sons.
Yes, and I think now in particular, this is where, like the Surgeon General was saying, the community has to get involved too, because there aren't as many fathers in the home. So that means, men, if you know this single mother has a few daughters who are going to get a little out of hand because they don't have no father, but you attend the church with them, get involved. Like, as a community, we have to stop being so hands off with things and people that do actually have a direct impact on our lives and our well-being, because you look at crime rates, you look at how people aren't happy getting married, loneliness, depression, all these things that are going on. It's super important that we try as a community to step out of this selfish mindset and look to help people and really look to make this world better. Because great day, our kids, what I can't imagine. And as sad as it is, and I feel for single people, I feel even more like 10, 20, 30 years from now. Like, because just look at where it's at now, and we're not trending yet for things to get better, but I'm very hopeful. So,
I mean, well, if arranged marriages are increasing, then everything will be okay.
Yeah,
it'll be okay. It's just you will have more people getting married and less divorce rates.
Yeah, it's certainly an option. Anyways, so not all arranged marriages are successful. Obviously, there are some factors that do contribute to an arranged marriage being not successful. And one we kind of hit on a little bit earlier was the lack of love and intimacy. So usually when you have your arranged marriages, there's not that strong connection, that, chemistry, that foundation that would have been able to build if you had met, prior to your parents orchestrating something for you, So it's a lot different there. And usually sometimes that can make it difficult for a relationship to really sustain. But again, statistically, I think the duty in getting married and saying like, okay, I'm going to do this shows to stand a little better.
You know what? Another thing that's missing in this article that arranged marriages at large in other countries have the support of is counseling.
Yes.
I saw that in
yep.
the Indian culture is that the children actually go through marriage counseling after they get married.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a normal thing that they do,
yes,
which helps them with the intimacy. They talk about that. They talk about
building connection, how to deepen all of that.
All of that. I did see that on TV once.
Because I think our society has now gotten it so confused, like that's not something that can be built when it really can.
Or either the use of counseling.
Right.
You don't have to go to counseling because you have a problem.
Right.
You can go to counseling in order to strengthen your relationship,
or
to make
preventive maintenance.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. To be aware of things that you're currently doing that may cause issues.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to use counseling, to be honest with you.
It really, really is. It really is.
To self-reflect, review, and all that stuff.
Yep. Another one though, I guess this may kind of maybe go with like the green card America statistics. So average in America, statistically, green card marriages are the most common arranged marriages. So with that, cultural differences can sometimes play a part. If you're getting a spouse from another country and maybe you guys don't speak the same language, or you don't have the same cultures, that difference can kind of lead to a lot of misunderstandings and sometimes conflicts if you don't take the time to, like you said, go into like counseling and do those things. So I think that is actually a great thing about arranged marriages, is that it's aware of the difficulties ahead of time that can come with arranging the marriages, and then you do things that like counseling or things that can help lower that.
I mean, it's because there are issues with marriages in America. I believe after people get married, they should just automatically go to marriage counseling, especially if they're because America has a big selfish issue. We have selfishness that's killing marriages. And preventing marriages here in the United States.
Yes.
That part needs to be ironed out.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, it's not being ironed out before you all getting to marriage. To marriage. It needs to happen after then, if you all get married. And that will help with divorce rates going down and help with happy families overall, to be honest with you.
Yep, that's so true. So another disadvantage to arranged marriages, we definitely like to go through all the pros and the cons to make it even, make it honest, right? We're doing this with you guys. So another con would be maybe the lack of trust. So kind of going right with maybe the cultural differences and not being able to communicate or build that relationship of trust. It can be kind of hard, I guess, in the beginning to have that trust with your spouse if you can't communicate as well or be able to work through issues as well, because it's like a learning process in a way. So that again is an issue that can be addressed, just like with any marriage in particular. When you're looking to build trust with somebody, being able to openly communicate and work on ways that you guys can deepen how you communicate and effectively communicate with each other.
And that just goes to normal marriages in America as well. There's a lack of trust, I think, in normal marriages in America, being the fact that divorce rates are high and marriage rates are low. So that is definitely a contributing factor to divorce in the United States, unfortunately.
But on the bright side, though, one thing I think about, at least I would feel a little more secure in the idea of an arranged marriage, because I guess contrary to a non-arranged marriage, you aren't 100% certain that this person is saying like, hey, I really want to do this. This is something I know I want
Right.
to do. Unless,
They're
of
committed
course, unless
to
of
the institution of marriage.
right, because they're even willing to do something like this. An
Right.
arranged marriage is a little more, I guess, risky, in my opinion, because it's like you don't really know. It can be a little harder,
No,
but hey.
I mean, according to those statistics, that's the way to go here in the
I
United
know,
States.
yeah, but statistically, yeah.
You should want an arranged marriage in the United States instead of trying to date somebody that you
Exactly.
are attracted to and somebody that you see. Because what it's telling us is that we're not getting it right.
Right.
Americans are not getting it right at all when it comes to marriages, because we get an F on our report card.
Yes. 40% for non-arranged marriage divorces and 6% for arranged.
Yeah, or divorce.
Yeah.
That's low. That's
yes,
very low.
That is very low. And that, again, makes me go to that idea of, hey, we're committed to
now,
it.
Just to throw this out there, though, those are green card marriages, and that's what 22% of marriages in the United States are green card marriages.
Well, I don't know if that was them, but it was the most. Either way, the most.
22%.
Yeah.
What does that tell you? That men here or women here are not marrying American people at 22%.
Well, when it comes to an arranged marriage, I would think so, in the particular, because they have to go through that whole green card process. So,
citizenship. They got to get citizenship.
Yeah. So because of that, it kind of creates that layer of facilitation between, countries and bringing cultures together and stuff like that. So sure. But if we did this as a modern society, right? Like, and actually came, like, where there was places where the women and the men, they come together, they go through, in my mind, I could see like going through courses in a class, right? Of like how to fulfill your role. Counselings. Yep. What to expect, things that you can use, techniques you can use. Of course, I'm super excited because this was kind of what Wifeconomics was built from. Just the idea of being able to instill the skills, the techniques, the things that you can use to help build a successful marriage, and then an implementation program that will help, in a way, facilitate and arrange relationships, whether it's just starting with the first date, because certainly, that's a huge feat to want to arrange a marriage. So I'm sure it's a lot to the wife course. My wife course. Yes, if somebody asks, of course, wifeconomics.com, our wife course for women, to learn the skills of how to really know how to navigate a marriage for a lifetime, and really to be a feminine asset to a man, and knowing how to do this and be confident in that role. Now, for the men who are like, yeah, I want a wife and I want to actually have a wife who knows what to do and is committed to doing this, they would have a place of course, a vetting process of going through, making sure that the man is fit to be a provider and a protector and ready to take on a wife, being that position, because we all know that is required. A man needs to be in the position to take on a wife. God is not going to bless you with a wife unless you're ready and responsible to take on that commitment. That's a precious cargo. So yeah, anyways, if that could be facilitated and connected, it could really help create some great relationships of where everybody knows their role, knows their duties, and is ready to do it and fulfill it. So that's just, of course, something that I'm also going to go through a little bit later, a little more. But to go back into what we're saying about arranged marriages, some specific cultural practices really do dig in deep on how they're going to arrange marriages, in particular in India, with arranged marriages being the most common type of marriage. We talked about 90% statistically. The process of arranged marriages typically begins with the parents of the bride and the groom meeting to discuss the possibility of a match. So if both of the families are interested in this, and the spouse, they exchange information about the children, such as their education, their job, and their family background. And then if they're still interested, they set up for the couple to meet and to get to know each other. And if the couple likes each other, then they eventually get engaged and eventually married. So it's not like people think that married at first sight, where you don't even know the person. You just like, oh, here you go, first day. You married.
Well,
It's
no,
not like that at all.
They don't. The children don't know each other.
No, they do. That they do. They actually arrange for the couple to meet and to get to know each other. That is what they do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they actually do. So that is a misconception. People often think that, yeah, and I thought the same thing until I actually went through. And other countries too. China is the same way. Now, China has actually become a little less common within the years, but statistically, it's still very, very popular in China for them to arrange marriages. So, particularly in their rural areas, they do this much more often than I guess like the city areas where people are, trying to match themselves more. But anyways, the process is very similar to India. So the parents meet each other and they put the bride and the groom together to meet each other and they see if there's some chemistry. They don't probably have as long as the typical couple in the United States waits around like 2-3 years. I'm pretty sure they don't do that long, but just the sense of, hey, my parents thought that you were a good, match. So, hey, let's see if we can get some chemistry, some juices flowing to actually make this happen. And I think that's super cool. That's how it should be. It takes a lot of the guessing game out of it, and the insecurities of, hey, is this guy really for me, wanting to date me for this? Is he even ready to do this? Or even the men, like, is she committed to this? Is she going to be dedicated to me? Does she want to do this? That really eases a lot of the fears that I think modern people are faced with now more than ever.
Right. And then you have, for the people who are getting married, they have to live up to their families.
Yeah.
So they just can't fake this process and be like, yeah, I'm ready to get married. But,
right.
Once they get married, they're all in the nightclubs and partying
right.
and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
That brings shame to the family name.
Exactly.
And if they do something like that. So that's the pressure that they have on them to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of countries in particular, like Pakistan, we talked about that a little bit, but like Japan as well, they're big on the religious aspect of it. So if you do think to get away from your duties, you are greatly shamed for that. And rightfully so, because you don't sign up for something as serious as marriage and the commitment and the duty that it all entails to just quickly up and jump ship. Like, that's
like we do here in America.
Right. That's such a disgrace. Like any little hiccup, irreconcilable differences is not even an option in other countries. So yeah, whatever. Anyways, another cool thing is that in what country? It was in the Middle East. So similar to India, China, and Pakistan, countries in the Middle East in particular, they put a big emphasis on cultural compatibility of the couple, as well as, I guess, if they are socially compatible as well.
No, so they're mostly Muslim. So
yeah.
That's pretty much it. As long as the woman Muslim and social aspects as far as like a trade type thing. That's what Middle Eastern people do.
Yeah. So their weight on doing your part and playing your role is much. It's heavier. Yeah.
And then also too, they have multiple wives.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. Certainly. So lastly, Hispanic cultures, particularly now, being that a lot of the Hispanic cultures here are, getting more modern in a way. With that happening, it's little less for arranged marriages to take place within Hispanic cultures, but believe it or not, they still are occurring in like your more rural areas and among the older generations, of course, as well. So because of this, it's kind of the same process of parents meeting each other and, everybody talking and getting together. So that just debunks the whole idea of, arranged marriages is, I'm not gonna, be attracted to this person, or what if I don't like them or anything like that, because you are genuinely given an opportunity to see whether or not this would be something you would want to do. And again, the choice is yours. Nobody is going to hold a gun to your head and be like, marry my daughter. You got her pregnant, marry my daughter. Like, it's not like that. It's genuinely like, hey, this is somebody that we think would be a good match for you and for our family. Would you consider seeing if this could go somewhere. And I think that is the exact guidance that is needed now more than ever within our society.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean, the numbers show. I mean, you have a better chance of at an arranged marriage. But the puzzle pieces just have to be there.
Yes.
Fathers are supposed to vet the husbands for their daughters, and mothers should vet the wives for their sons. You have to have all of those dynamics working together here in the United States. And unfortunately, we have one of the largest single family populations in the world.
Yes. But this is where, again, the quote from the U.S. Surgeon General runs in my head, where he says, together we can build a country that's healthier, more resilient, less lonely, and more connected. And I think about now more than ever, with the new innovation of ideas that's coming along, dating services, if we could all, in particular, think more on the lines of how can we connect people together to have sustainable relationships, we are really going to better our society as a whole. And it may mean having arranged marriages in the sense of not even just for the parents to do, but actually have churches maybe step up now more than ever. That's a shaky topic and kind of disappointing, because you would want. Now, churches have always supposed to have been, to me, that place to arrange that, especially with like Christians.
Well, the thing with churches is that there's so many of them. There's so many churches out here.
That's the reason where that would be good. Like, and that's the
Well, I'm from a small country.
Yeah.
I've been to churches. Sometimes it's like 10 people there. Or 15.
What them 10 people need to go to the church down the block?
That's what I'm saying. Within 15 miles, there's another church. Within 15 miles, there's another church. That's what I was saying, was that the problem is that there's so many churches out there. As opposed to back in the day, there was like one, church within.
But is that a problem though? See, I guess that's perspective, because I don't even see that as a problem.
More people can fellowship together if there's one church.
Or those churches can come together and have like
but they don't
things.
They don't do that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that would be. I'm just throwing out ideas here. We need to throw out some solutions and talk about figuring out how to make this work, not constantly point out the problems of.
They're too busy competing against each other. Did y'all used to have something called the Literary Union?
Nah.
It was this banner where they would take attendance, and you would show up at the other person's church as a flex, and then a Sunday school. So you have to attend Sunday school at that other person's church, and then they would count all the members from every different church, and the church that has the most attendees at that church wins the banner. I mean, we used to do that.
That's a way. See, all of that should have been y'all connecting y'all folks together.
Right.
See,
all y'all, everybody flexing. They were like, "Oh, we up in here, like there's 100 of us."
What purpose does that serve? To me, that's just my issue. That's my beef. Is that y'all ain't stepping up. Y'all focus is off. Like, and then the crazy thing is, this is what y'all Bible talk about. Like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Teaching the woman how women need to be taught how to be wise, how to, no, I ain't quoting the Bible or nothing like that. Like, but just how to be good women and wholesome and not drunk all over the place, and
service to a husband and vice versa.
Yes, this is what the Bible teaches that y'all are supposed to be teaching, and yet it is where wifeconomics.com. Our implementation program will now include a match for one date, at least for all the women who go through our program. 7 weeks course of really how to learn those skills of, again, like we said, managing not only your beautiful femininity and resting in that, knowing how to do that, knowing how to be a feminine asset to a man, knowing your role, knowing what a righteous husband is, what that looks like, and knowing how to vet, properly yourself as well. But not only that, knowing your own values and your principles within yourself. All of that is what we'll be covering within the 7 weeks. And also, we will take the time to look at your values, your principles, and see where you can line up with some great, suitable men who want wives. It is a demand for wives more than ever. I don't really care about any other conversation on that. There is a huge need for women to be wives, to help be the teachers of our communities, to help be the support and the helpmate for our men. They need this now more than ever. Our men need it, our children need it, we need it. We got to get it together as a community, and Wifeconomics is just how we're playing our part within this huge scheme of life that is so much bigger than us at the end of the day. And if people could realize that, I'm telling you, we'd be on our way. But it's all right. Within the 7-week course, at the end of the implementation program, every woman will be set up on a great date with a man who potentially could lead to more. That's always what we're hoping. But this is our little part that we can definitely play to matching some great people and hopefully creating some great families. That's the goal.
Yep. Yeah, but thank you all for joining us, Instagram followers. Thank you. If you can please like, share, and subscribe. YouTube followers as well. Thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it. And until next time, peace.
Peace. Really wish though Instagram followers could see and hear some integration.